So if you're not looking to see a superhero movie this week, there is a new horror film out in theaters called Rosario. Hey everyone, my name is Ryan. Thank you guys for clicking on this video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I do all kinds of reviews on this channel. Give the video a like and comment below. Have you heard of Rosario? Are you planning to see it in theaters? Or is this a movie that you'll wait for VOD? Now this film, it was directed by Felipe Vargas, and this is actually his directorial debut. He's done about 7 or 8 shorts, so he's just now dabbling into full-length films. Now what is this film ultimately about? Well, it's about Rosario, who spends the night with her grandmother's body while she waits for an ambulance to arrive. During a severe snowfall, Rosario is attacked by otherworldly entities that have taken control of her grandmother's body. The film stars Emeraude Toubia, José Zúñiga, and David Dastmalchian. Now, this film, I did see a trailer for it, and when I did see a trailer for it, I immediately thought, okay, this looks like it's going to be like a B-flick kind of horror movie. So that was my mindset going into this film. Though I only saw a trailer for this, maybe one time I saw like another smaller film, and this film was actually introduced in a bunch of trailers that I saw. So I was like, a horror film in May, I will definitely check this film out. And I'll start off by saying, what did I like about this film? Well, I like the fact here that there's a lot of culture in this film. There's a lot of heritage, Spanish heritage. If you're really into that, you're really going to dig it. I like the way that this film was shot. The apartment here, it's very much kind of reminding me, at least with the color schemes, a lot of The Invitation. This apartment is very dingy. It's very much an apartment that probably should be condemned. Now, I believe they filmed this in Colombia, but I think this actually takes place in New York. I could be wrong on that. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it is because there is a subway involved, and there's some interesting cinematography within that subway. There's some creepy little moments in the beginning of the film and a little bit in the mid-section of the film in which a subway is involved. When Rosario actually arrives at this apartment, it's a snowstorm going on, so she sees her grandmother's dead body just laying on a sofa. And so she's pretty much just looking around this apartment and seeing what is actually going on, and you can tell that this is a very much messy apartment. There's a lot of different like little bugs and creatures, which if you're really like afraid of like creepy crawly things or that really freaks you out, there are definitely some certain scenes in this film where there is some interesting dirty things really going on in this apartment. There's also a scene in here that really reminded me of Drag Me to Hell, and certain little elements in this film did remind me of Drag Me to Hell. Not a lot, but just little small moments, especially like a throw-up scene that definitely reminded me of Drag Me to Hell. There's some other little moments too with like creepy, crawly type of creatures that are involved as well that I really did like. The film also has a lot of dark magic, black magic, lots of rituals, and also some supernatural entities that are really going on. And most of this film pretty much takes place in this apartment, so it's kind of like a chamber piece, but not all the way for the 90-minute runtime that it actually is. I also like that David Dastmalchian is in this film. The poor guy just wants his air fryer back, and he is kind of a creepy character in here, and I like that they kind of threw him in there kind of as a red herring in this film, because there's a certain element of him where he's really creepy, and even though he doesn't have like a ton of screen time, which I will say that's kind of a negative in a way, because I like him as an actor, but he always gets these roles where he plays like small little roles. He plays like the creepy kind of character, and then he's not on screen that much. Here, I think he gets little moments here and there, but maybe not enough really to be involved too much into the story. But the poor man just wants his air fryer, so I definitely felt for his character, and certain little elements that kind of made me laugh in here. There's a part when he does talk about the air fryer, and literally the woman Rosario is like, my mother's Mexican. She wouldn't use an air fryer. For a directorial debut, one of the things that I really look for in a directorial debut is how does the camera work? How do they place the camera? How do they move the camera around? And in here, I thought for a directorial debut, I thought the director did a really good job of the camera work in here. There was this really cool scene in which the fact that it is in a smaller space, even though there's like little details to where there's like a back room and like this chamber in which there's like a lot of black magic going on, there is a scene before that in which a hallway is used, and the way that he did the shot, it made the hallway seem like it was really long and kind of narrow, and the way that he kind of tilted the camera in certain aspects, it really did help like a little bit of tension during that scene. And I saw that camera work and I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is really impressive for a director, especially in a film like this, because there's not a lot of budget with this film. And I think really you have to know that really going into this film. If you're someone that's like really casual as a horror fan, I don't know if you're really going to appreciate this movie that much, but if you're someone that does watch B-flick horror films, I think there's some things to really appreciate about this film. I think there's a lot of good ideas in this film, and there's a lot that's really going on within this film. And again, like I said, it is a chamber piece. There is some supernatural entities that are really going on in this film, and there is some jump scares. So if you're looking for jump scares, yeah, there's going to be some of that in this film. But that really leads into my negatives of this film. Now, with the jump scares, I do like that they have that in the film. There are certain elements in this film where, because it is in a chamber piece type of deal, there is a little bit too much of the jump scares at some points, and it does feel a little bit of a rinse and repeat type of thing as the film is going along. I also wasn't a full-on really supporter of the ending, mainly because there's a certain point in which the film where, again, it's 90 minutes, but there's a certain point where they show the last scene, and the certain thing that does happen, I was like, oh man, this is like super generic. Why did they have to go this route? I was disappointed in that fact. And I also felt like, too, there were certain like little elements in this film where they really go into heritage and they go really where this family actually came from. And they kind of introduce it really late into the story, and I think because of that, it really does have not as much of an impact as I really wanted it to. I think also, too, with this main character, she's kind of a mixed character in a way, because she's someone that is successful and she's a stockbroker, but they make her character to kind of make you feel like, okay, you shouldn't like this character, but I didn't really feel that way. I felt like there were reasons why she was in the particular situation that she was in, why she was successful, all that kind of thing that was really going into the film and what was really going into her character and how they built her character. I liked her character, and there wasn't really a reason for me to really dislike her. There is a twist in this film, and the twist, I don't know if it has like a big lasting impact for me. It wasn't much of a punch, I think, for me as the film kind of revealed itself towards like the last, 15 minutes of the film. And because of that, I think there's a little bit confusion as to what this entity that is in this film, what they're actually wanting from this said family and what is really going on with that whole aspect. Because there's a certain scene in the beginning of the film where there's this communion going on, and it sets up the film pretty cool because you have the grandma kind of freaking out. She's doing weird things. And so you think that the grandma is doing some really weird things, and you also feel like the grandma is like maybe like the evil character in this film. There's other things that really go on to that, which really goes back into their heritage and black magic, and there's like a lot of things that are really going on in this film that I think just don't get fleshed out enough to where you really understand like every little thing that really was kind of thrown at you in this film. And I think a little bit within its narrative, it's a little bit messy. So for me, like, this is a mixed bag kind of film, but I actually enjoyed it, and I think I appreciate it a little bit more with the fact that it is a B-flick horror film. I think also too, for a directorial debut, I think it has some solid ideas here. And I think overall for me, it's a film that I did enjoy, and the fact that it was a B-flick horror film, I think I have a little bit more mercy on this film. I think the pacing of this film was great. I think the length of this film was great. I think that if it was a little bit even longer, I don't think that it probably, I could have got maybe a little bit bored if it was stretched like maybe 20-25 minutes, but I think like for 90 minutes, I think like this doesn't really wear out its welcome. I think exactly for what the story is, it doesn't necessarily stick the landing as a whole, but I do think there's a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I can really say this is a pretty good debut for a film director. So I would give a score of this film a 3 out of 5. Again, I think you have to really go into this film. If you're someone that's like a really casual horror fan, you don't watch B-flick horror films, I would say don't watch this film. But if you're someone that can really accept the fact that this is a B-flick horror film, it's going to have some problems, but there's some things you can really appreciate about it, especially with the setting, the camera work. I think some of the lead work with the lead actress, even though she's someone that really hasn't been in like a lot of movies, she does like a lot of series and TV series and such like that. I think she did a pretty decent job for what she had to work with, and I do think there's some interesting scenes and interesting horror that is thrown in here that I can really appreciate overall. So those are my thoughts on Rosario. What did you guys think about the film? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.